Hi friends, ready for a fun quiz about the Dominican Republic? From stunning beaches to rich culture and lively music, let's see how well you know this amazing Caribbean nation. You've got 5 seconds per question. Let's go. Which city serves as the capital of the Dominican Republic? What language is primarily spoken by Dominicans? Who is the current president of the Dominican Republic? What currency is used in the Dominican Republic? What date marks Dominican Independence Day? How many colors are on the Dominican flag? What does the emblem on the Dominican flag represent? What is the largest city in the Dominican Republic? Which legislative body governs in the Dominican Republic? How is the government system structured in the Dominican Republic? In what year was the Dominican Republic founded as an independent nation? What is the dominant religion in the Dominican Republic? At what age can Dominicans legally vote? What document forms the basis of Dominican law? What law determines Dominican citizenship? How can foreigners obtain Dominican citizenship? Which two countries share the island of Hispaniola? What motto appears on the Dominican coat of arms? Who is considered the father of Dominican independence? Which mountain is the tallest in the Caribbean? What alphabet is used in the Dominican Republic? What is the Dominican Republic's leading export product?
What time zone is observed in the Dominican Republic?
What bird represents the Dominican Republic as the national bird? Approximately how many people live in the Dominican Republic? What is the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Dominican Republic? Which is the longest river in the Dominican Republic? What agricultural product is closely tied to Dominican culture and economy? How large is the Dominican Republic compared to other nations? When did the Dominican Republic join the United Nations? Which beach destination is the Dominican Republic known for internationally? What is the name of the oldest cathedral in the Americas, located in the Dominican Republic? What flower is the national flower of the Dominican Republic? What holiday is the most widely celebrated in the Dominican Republic? What is the largest festival in the Dominican Republic? In what year did the Dominican Republic host the Caribbean Series baseball tournament? What are the Dominican Republic's armed forces called? What sport is most popular in the Dominican Republic? How long is compulsory education in the Dominican Republic? What organization is responsible for space and satellite projects in the Dominican Republic? What is the president's official residence in the Dominican Republic? What is the most important economic sector in the Dominican Republic? What is the highest court in the Dominican Republic? Which alphabet is officially used in Dominican education? What is the most iconic dish in Dominican cuisine? What is the name of the Dominican legislature? Which city has the tallest building in the Dominican Republic? How is the Dominican Republic's population growth rate? What is the most famous historical district in the Dominican Republic?
Where does the Dominican Republic rank in economy size in Latin America?
What UNESCO World Heritage Site is located in the Dominican Republic? What is the Dominican Republic's nickname due to its rich culture? What countries share the island of Hispaniola with the Dominican Republic? What fruit is a symbol of the Dominican Republic? What does January 26 signify in the Dominican Republic? What visa type is required for foreign workers in the Dominican Republic? What are the Dominican Republic's environmental goals? What is the highest judicial authority in the Dominican Republic? What is a traditional dance form from the Dominican Republic? Which regional trade organization does the Dominican Republic belong to? What is the largest island near the Dominican Republic? What is the literacy rate in the Dominican Republic? What is the main religion in the Dominican Republic? What city is the Dominican Republic's cultural hub? What type of music is emblematic of Dominican culture? Which natural features are considered Dominican national symbols? What is the role of the Ministry of Education in the Dominican Republic? What are the Dominican Republic's major media exports? Who is the most revered historical leader in Dominican history? What is the Dominican Republic's primary international airport? How does the Dominican Republic approach climate change? What is the largest shopping mall in the Dominican Republic? What role does the Central Bank of the Dominican Republic play? What is the national anthem of the Dominican Republic? What energy source does the Dominican Republic primarily rely on? What political structure does the Dominican Republic follow? What is the Dominican Republic's top export? What environmental issues affect the Dominican Republic? Why is Parque Nacional del Este significant? How do foreign workers gain legal employment in the Dominican Republic? What is the most famous traditional dance in the Dominican Republic?
Thank you for exploring the Dominican Republic civics and history with us. We hope you found this video helpful and enjoyable. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks and see you next time.